Good walk through Wednesday, Birds fans. You got Birds 365 here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel with your Mac and Mac guys, John McMullen and Jody McDonald. We'll keep you Eagles informed and entertained for the next 2 hours here. And Johnny Mac, I was thinking about this just before our show started today. You and I do 2 hours of Eagles content Monday through Friday every single week. As we sit here in the middle of week number 15 in the NFL, there are probably 31 other shows that might not be broadcast on YouTube with the cool backgrounds and everything that we have here on Birds 365, but a podcast of some sort that is dedicated to their NFL team. Is anybody having as much fun as we are? Are we in the catbird seat of all these shows across the country that dedicate themselves to their local NFL team?
Yeah. Well, I think
got a 12-1 team to talk about like we do.
Yeah, I think there's 67 Eagles ones. Just we're lucky enough to have a bigger platform than most, but I mean, there's so many Eagles shows. I mean, they're all over, and it's 12-1. I Monday, we probably, if it wasn't our top show, it was one of our top shows live. And I would like to take credit for it. I would like to give Jody McDonald credit for it, but it's probably got more to do with the 12-1 than the host.
Yeah.
I would so yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that frustrates me about the fan base. Just enjoy it. This doesn't come around every year, to say the least. It's happened twice in franchise history, as an example. And by the way, this franchise has been around since 1933, so it doesn't happen that often. And I see that's constant. And I saw John Kincaid tweet about this and from 97.5, and he's right. I mean, and I say it all the time. I've said it in the past. There's such an ingrained underdog mentality in this city that it's tough to realize you're the front runner. It's tough to realize you're the best team. It's tough to realize, no, we're not the underdog. As I said, even the all-pro center's got his own clothing line, Underdog. So, I mean, it's so ingrained in the city. I think it's hard for people to enjoy it, but man, this team is good. I say it all the time. It's so good. And now we got Micah Parsons out there with the clip, and it wasn't even, I just tweeted, it wasn't even remotely disrespectful.
No, it wasn't. I heard the same thing. I watched the video. It's people just trying to find something.
You're tying themselves in a
mad about.
It was
a nothing burger.
Yeah, he said it was basically a great team. Now, I get the same stuff when I said on Monday at a much lower level about, I tweeted out about our numbers, our good numbers, and I got back in the day when we first started the show. Back in the day when I was first a reporter, I would clap back against this stuff. Now I don't even do it. So, and you built it on hating Jalen Hurts. Well, you don't watch this show, so I'm not gonna even engage in that. It's just, and before I would have. So it's one of those things you learn. But that's Twitter, that's social media, that's what it is. And people think constructive criticism is insulting someone. People think, in the Micah Parsons, people think saying a good team. What do you want him to say? The quarterback carries the team. The team is great. Right. The quarterback is a part of that.
If they had said that, then they'd
be upset about that.
Oh, you're not giving the Eagles enough credit. You realize it's a team that's 12-1, and you're giving the credit to just one guy rather. Oh, they'd find a way to get ticked off about it either way. Whatever Michael Parsons said, they would find a way to somehow spin it that he's disrespecting the Eagles because, that's what they do. You quoted John Kincaid. I'll quote another Philadelphia sports talk show host. That would be one Gary Cobb, who, that reminds me, we should get G Cobb on the show. We haven't had him on in a couple of months. When G was a regular host on WIP, he coined the phrase, I'd never heard it used before, Negadelphia. That's just the way things play in this town. Given the chance between positive or negative, the Philadelphia fan base will find a way to spin something negatively. And the first time I heard that, I go, oh, that's just wrong. Why would you go there, G? That's just, and the more I did shows, the more years I spent here in town, the more years I had to deal with a certain percentage of the Philadelphia fan base. He's onto something. There is a percentage of the fan base that always wants to find what's wrong, why either they are being understated, underrated, mistreated, or that the team is just god awful when they're not, when they're good. This team, there's no debate about. So that kind of takes away the edge and the fun for some people. It doesn't for you and me because we enjoy what we do. And I got no problems being positive here about the 12-1 Eagles. But there are some people in town that just live to find what's wrong with the situation.
Yeah, no doubt. And even with a 12-1 team, that's not to say we nitpick all the time, because that's all we can do about this team. And, it probably starts with special teams and it trickles down from there with a few things they don't do at a high level. Nobody's perfect. Nothing's perfect. Jalen Hurts talks about the standard all the time, which the standard is perfection, which is obviously not reachable. So, there's room to criticize and, but then it's I guess the bounce back, I guess the disconnect is, others who constructively say, and by the way, how do you, I guess I don't understand that. So how do you say it's such a great team and you talk up everybody, and Tone, our producers, even the same way. He chipped in the private chat here. He thought Micah was definitely underselling Hurts' contributions. I don't know. I watched the thing. I'm like, did I miss something? I had to play it back 3 times. But here's the problem. And this is why Nick Sirianni, and this is why Micah shouldn't be doing these shows, to be honest. Shouldn't be doing Von Miller's show. This is why Nick Sirianni doesn't like his players to talk about anything, because you can't control the other side. You can't control how it's perceived.
Mm-hmm.
And I use now I have a great relationship with Jalen Hurts, a great relationship. So he's got no problem with my constructive criticism. But other people say, you're out there, you're building your platform on hating Jalen Hurts. I can't control that perception of some, moron on Twitter. I can't do it. So Micah Parsons can't control the perception of all those people who think, oh, he's hating on Jalen Hurts, blah, blah, blah. And then you have this filter, Jody. You have this filter where a group of Eagles fans, and it goes through and it filters through. And by the way, if it works for the Eagles, if they can use it and they think they're disrespected, this is what Doug Peterson did so well in 2017. If you can use it and it works, hey, use it. And that's why Nick's the way he is, because you can't control the outside perception.
That's true. And perception in some cases become reality. And if I don't believe that the perception is accurate, I'm going to say that I think that the perception is wrong and off. But there can't be too much of a difference, despite people trying to make parsing words and sentiments and reading into them. I guess you can make anything say anything, like with the Micah Parsons thing you and I agree on. The 12-1. And this goes back to a rant that I had 4, 5, 6 weeks ago about football and the way you look at an ongoing season. In college football, it actually does matter when they come out with a subjective ranking of the teams, because the College Football Playoff Committee are the ones who decide who are going to be the 4 teams who are going to get a chance to actually decide it on the field. We don't even have to deal with that in the NFL. I get my nose out of joint about the power rankings, and I did during the season. This whole power football index thing, the ESPN still has the Cowboys as the number 1 team, annoys the snot out of me. It really is irrelevant. It doesn't matter 1 iota, because the Eagles and the Cowboys are going to play each other in 11 days. And the Cowboys could add to the debate by beating the Eagles. they still will have not gone by the Eagles in the most important area, and that's the standings. We can do 9 straight hours of Birds 365, and you'll give your opinion. I'll give mine. We'll get guests on. They'll give theirs. And then we all get the standings out, look at them, and we decide what the hell's happening. They actually decide it on the field. The most important numbers in the 2022 football season are 12 and 1. There's only one team in the National Football League that has those 2 numbers attached to it, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles. So your perception, our perception, people's on the streams perceptions, people trying to rile people up by overstating, reading into what Micah Parsons had to say yesterday about Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles. It all is pretty irrelevant, John, because at the end of the day,
they get to play each other. They get to play each other. And who knows, they might get to play each other twice, because obviously the Eagles are already in the postseason. And the Cowboys are going to be in the postseason. So they might see each other 3 times if everything works out correctly. So we're going to know who the better team is. And if you're asking me, and I hope people clean out their ears for this, and I've said it for a while now, the Eagles are the best team in football. So, if they bring their A game, I said this yesterday, and someone else, I don't care if it's Kansas City, Buffalo, Dallas, whomever, San Francisco, who I picked to go to the Super Bowl before the season, and they bring their A games, the Eagles are winning that game. The Eagles are the best team. If that's disrespectful, that's disrespectful. Our buddy John Barshard, who we have on the show every once in a while, does a tremendous job. I tweeted that out. I don't think this is remotely disrespectful, I said. John said, I don't think so either. This is a perfect example of what I was saying. But he wanted to say disrespectful things and stopped himself. I mean, that's the perception. See what I'm saying, Jody? I can't get into Micah Parsons.
But you realize you have to take a leap of faith to get there.
Yeah.
You have to say, I'm reading into.
Yes.
I'm going between the lines. Nothing was actually said, but here's what I interpret he meant to say. Or had he continued, he would have said. Yeah. How the F do you know?
Yeah. And by the way, I love John, and John might be right. Maybe he did, but I don't know. I don't know that. I just looked at it and said, this particular video clip is not remotely disrespectful. Then I have another fan who says, yes, it was, and it was purposeful. You can't control the perception, and that's why Micah Parsons shouldn't even be doing that show. But at the end of the day, he said it was a great team. He talked up Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown and Miles Sanders.
Right.
He's very close.
They just move right past that part and just zero in on he's not giving Hurts enough respect.
Yeah.
The fact that he gave everybody else a ton of respect, that goes right by the boards. My God, he didn't give the MVP of the NFL enough respect in my eyes.
Yeah, and he talked about how good the offensive line was. And by the way, with the Miles Sanders, he was over the top. Guess what? Penn State guy. It's not rocket science. I mean, I said it. I tweeted it. I'll stand behind it. It was not remotely disrespectful. Not remotely
close. All right. You gave your opinion. I gave mine. We actually have some Eagle stuff to talk about, like the return of an old-time DB. Isn't that so funny? He was just here 5 months ago, but he's like an old-time friend coming back to join his buddies and his pals. We do need to get to that, but we've got a great third voice to join us here next, and we'll ask him about perception of quotes and respect and disrespect and the like. Mike Tanier from Football Outsiders is going to jump in with us next here on Bird